Hey guys, welcome to another Bald Brothers video. Thanks for joining us. Today I am out at 30 Bowl in Fremont, Nebraska again for another 900 Global event. This time it's the Pot of Luck event that's run by JJ Massney and his team. Another great tournament. This is a handicap tournament. The shot is, while it's technically under one of the sport shots, I think it's their recreation series, so it's technically like a modified house shot. You'll see from the image down here in the corner, it's about 8.7 to 1, but you will notice that the majority of that volume is in the middle of the lane, and it's not until you get out to about the 7 board or so that suddenly it jumps up to that 8.7. From about the 7 board to 7 board in between, it's only about 1 point, I think it was 6 to 1 or something. So it's fairly flat inside, but there's a good amount of volume. It's 44 feet, so it's longer than a typical house shot. So I thought I would do something a little bit different this particular tournament. Instead of just having this video being just showing me throwing a bunch of shots, I'm actually going to have a little bit of commentary because basically I did not do well in this tournament. And rather than just having you watch me throw a bunch of bad shots, I thought that I would actually do a little commentary about what my mindset was, what I was thinking as I made different changes, different movements. So let's get it started. You'll see how I start out here in these first few shots, and we'll see what happens. So here we are with the first few shots. These first 4 balls look pretty good. For a little context, I knew that this was going to be a longer shot and a little more volume than a typical house shot. So rather than standing on my typical line of about 21, I'm standing about 17. And instead of throwing between second and third arrow, I'm throwing just right of second arrow, getting it out to somewhere around the 5-6 board, somewhere in that range is looking for my break point. And instead of the blue coral venom, which is what I normally go to as my benchmark ball, I am throwing the venom shock, which is a little earlier, a little stronger, just because the pattern was a little bit longer. So the first few shots do look pretty good, as you will see here. So it's a little bit hard to see, but this shot felt pretty good. But you can tell that I did go right over the second arrow, so it's pretty close to right where I was aiming. I'm aiming about 9, I think I crossed 10. It does look like as I got down lane that maybe I was just a fraction outside my break point. So instead of getting it out to 5 or 6, I got it out to maybe 4. And it is quite a bit drier there, and that's likely what led to that snap. So this did tell me that I don't have a lot of miss. And as is pretty typical, when you miss a little bit right, you over adjust, and I actually got this one a little bit left. It was right over my target again, but I didn't get it out as far. I think maybe I got 7 at the break point. And still a good shot, came in toward the pocket, a little light, but the mixer did not carry the 7. And then I go on to miss the 7 pin. Bad spirit. This time on this lane, I tried to not leak it as far right, threw it right where I wanted to. Unfortunately, I kind of spun it a little bit and didn't stay behind the ball. And the result is coming in light and hitting yet another split. And this time I thought I threw everything right. I threw it the way I wanted it, I threw it where I wanted, but the reaction wasn't what I was expecting. Jumped a little high, and yes, it's not another split. So after having 4 strikes to start the game, now I've got 4 consecutive opens. So not looking too good. At this point, I'm starting to wonder if I'm in the right ball or need to make a move. Knowing that the inside was slick, I didn't really want to make a move left, so instead I decided to change balls. I didn't want to go with something too clean because I know the outside was jumping so much. I was afraid that while something might go a little longer, it might jump too hard. So I opted to go to my T10, which is another solid, but it's a slight step down compared to my shock. So I thought I might get a little less overreaction and might be able to control the pocket a little bit better. And as you can see here, I didn't overreact, the ball did come up, but it came up light and gave me a mixer strike. So to finish off this game, I decided to stick with that T10. I put a little more on it and was able to get it back up in the pocket by playing the 5-10. And then on the next ball, I got a little inside and it didn't finish. So I'm thinking I might need to make a ball change for game 2. So having 4 consecutive opens after having a 4-bagger is not ideal. It's a good way to bring that score down pretty quickly. Shooting 181 that first game is going to put me pretty far behind the competition. There's some high scores given that it's somewhat of a house shot, and plus there's handicap for some of the people that actually have handicap in this tournament. So I'm really in a hole now, and I got to figure something out starting game 2. Now I have to decide, with the shock jumping a little bit early on me, do I want to move left with the shock or the T10, which came up a little bit light on those last couple of shots? Do I want to move a little bit right with the T10? Or the third option is, do I switch balls? So as you can see, what I'm going to do game 3 is I actually switched to the Blue Coral Venom, which is my normal go-to benchmark ball. It's going to go a little bit longer than the shock, but it is going to have a little more pop than the T10. So hopefully it will be right in between the two. Not overhook like the shock was, but actually get up into the pocket like the T10 was not able to do. So let's see what the Blue Coral Venom does game 2. So the first shot on this left lane comes in just a little bit light, leaves me a 7-10. But it looked like it was pretty close to being there. So when I move over to the right lane, I tried to stick with that shot, and you can see the result was pretty good on shot number 2. In the third frame, I move back over to that left lane, and I make a slight adjustment based on it coming in a little weak, and you can see it actually went and dove high on me, which is exactly what I was worried about happening, and what happened in the first game as well. So going back to the right lane, I struck again, I come back to the left lane, and so I adjusted after both those first 2 shots, first being a 7-10, then going high, where I moved a little bit left, but make sure I get it out to the right, and you can see that in that 5th frame, I actually threw a really good shot. And of course, after throwing 3 really good shots in a row, I do the cardinal sin of touching food with my right hand, got some grease on my hand, and even though I tried to wipe it off, the ball slipped out of my hand and I ended up flagging the head pin. So kids, do not eat with your right hand. I did go to the restroom, wash my hand off, and completely got all the grease off and repowdered it, so I was fine after this frame, but that frame was a nightmare. In the 10th frame, I threw a good ball but left a 10 pin, and unfortunately my spare shooting woes continued and I missed that 10 pin. So I ended up shooting only 175 that game, even though I felt like I threw a lot of really good balls there. A bad 7-10 split, whiffing a 10 pin, and then that one ball that slipped off my hand and left a washout really cost me. And at this point, I'm pretty much out of the running. So for game 3, I'm going to just completely change gears. Even though I had a good look with that ball, I'm going to try something totally different, and I'm going to switch to a more aggressive, solid ball and move a little bit further left. So I'm switching to the Jackal Ghost. We'll see how that works in game 3. So frame 1, I got it in a little bit and sailed a little bit light. So I made sure I got it out in frame 2, and here you can see I ended up actually jumping through the nose. So obviously keeping it in is a little too slick, outside jumping too much, so we're going to have to move a little further left. Let's make sure I get the ball out and see what can happen. Now you all know from a prior video that Michael Jackson apparently makes me a pretty good bowler, and Michael Jackson happens to be playing during this particular frame, so it's pretty much a guaranteed strike, and as you can see here, I did strike. I'd also like to think that I actually threw the ball in the right spot. So moving left and getting the ball out did make a difference. So we'll see if it was Michael Jackson or if it was my move that really made the difference. So after the Michael Jackson strike, I ended up ripping a 10 pin and then left another good strike. So this ball and line combination is looking pretty good. On this next frame, you'll see I actually missed just a little bit, ended up leaving a 4 pin, but that was on me. I didn't throw a great shot. So the ball combo and the line is looking pretty good. Tyler's coming off a pair of 220s, so he's doing a lot better than I am. Oh no!
Let's go.
Hey, I picked the right time to record.
You sure did. Best strike I've thrown all day, man. And that is how lane 2 works.
So overall, this game I've been feeling pretty good. I like the ball and the line combination. But you can see in the 9th frame, the ball jumped a little bit on me. Same thing in the 10th frame here. You can see on my first ball in the 10th, the ball jumped way high and left a 6-pin. Picked that up, so I decided to make a big jump left. I think I moved about 7 boards left on this next shot. Made sure I got it out there just to see what it would do heading into the last game. And you can see on my last ball, it did hit flush in the pocket. So we're going to try playing a little bit deeper line than what I had been doing. So overall, the game was pretty good. Had a couple poor executed shots and it started to jump at the end. But at least it was a clean game and I got over 200.
So when I finally moved in, I was probably about 12 left. I was throwing the shock. This isn't quite checking out that well, so to the jackal we go.
Ooh, that's close. Come on, come on. So the first ball on the left lane looked pretty good. On the right lane, the ball jumped. Lane was snapping much harder, so I'm gonna have to make a big jump to the left on that right lane. And as you're gonna see, once I've made that move, I end up throwing the next 5 strikes in a row. So things are looking pretty good. So let's see how the rest of the game progresses. So I got a bit unlucky here in the 8th frame. 9th frame I threw a bad shot. Back to a good shot in the 10th, but a bad shot in the 11th. So not a strong way to finish, but a 226 overall, best game of the day. Overall, these scores were not where I wanted it to be. It was a very high-scoring event. I just was not one of those people. Sometimes those days happen. I think that J.R. Raymond talked about in one of his recent vlogs about matching up. I just don't think I matched up real well on top of not executing, so it was kind of a combination of the two things. I think I could have made a better ball choice and made some better shots and scored much better. Definitely a gettable pattern, but you live and learn, and we will be on to the next tournament coming up. So in the meantime, if you can like, share, and subscribe, and we appreciate you watching. Thank you.